Continuing with Chapter 13, Part 2, this PowerPoint is on the peripheral nervous system. Part A was on the central nervous system. Recall the central nervous system has to do with the brain and the spinal cord. That was all of 13, Part 1. Now we're in Chapter 13, Part 2, which is the peripheral nervous system, which is made up of nerves, specifically cranial nerves and spinal nerves, which is what we are going to go through. All of these divisions which we defined of the peripheral nervous system will come in the next two chapters, but right now we're focused on the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves that make up the peripheral nervous system. And a reminder that we're in the peripheral nervous system, so clusters of cell bodies are called ganglia. We saw in the last PowerPoint something called the dorsal root ganglia, but recall if we're in the central nervous system, ganglia are called nuclei. And since we're in the peripheral nervous system now, we're dealing with nerves. In the central nervous system, they're called tracts, not nerves. So just a quick recall. In the peripheral nervous system, we have ganglia and nerves. In the central nervous system, we have nuclei and tracts. Same structures, but named differently because of which part of the nervous system they're in. Here we're looking at a nerve. The cross-section of a nerve, we're looking in the inside of a nerve, and we know that a nerve is made up of many, many, many neurons, and we can see all the individual little neurons inside of a nerve, thousands of them, if we were to count. It's a bundle of myelinated, some non-myelinated peripheral axons. Those are all the axons of neurons. Remember, all the cell bodies, where they're located, is going to bulge out because cell bodies are wider, right? Then the axon, that's called a ganglion in the peripheral nervous system. So when you look at a nerve and look at the inside of it, well, we can see there's this connective tissue covering around these different sections, these different areas. And let's look at these terms. It's going to sound similar to muscle. So we have an epineurium that surrounds the entire nerve, this covering right here. We have a perineurium. This perineurium, they're showing it right here being peeled away, that covers a fascicle. Just like muscles have fascicles and a perimysium covering muscle fascicles, well, we have a perineurium covering neuron fascicles. Inside the fascicles are the cells. We can see the axons of the neurons, and the covering, you can see the covering being peeled away here around each axon is called an endoneurium. So here we have epi, peri, and endoneurium surrounding the whole nerve, fascicle, and the axons in the nervous system. So a nerve, which we just saw a picture of an entire nerve with all those axons and fascicles, the entire nerve could be motor only, which is efferent or efferent. Motor nerves carry impulses just one way, and that's away from the CNS, away from the brain and spinal cord, towards an effector. And remember, an effector is either a muscle or a gland, skeletal, smooth, or cardiac muscle, or a gland. If a nerve is entirely sensory or afferent, that means they carry impulses in one direction, but opposite of motor, they carry impulses towards the brain and spinal cord, towards the CNS, because they're sensing something throughout the body and delivering that information to the spinal cord and brain. Now, some nerves may be mixed, meaning that some neurons in that nerve are sensory and some neurons are motor. Right? Maybe one of the fascicles in the nerve is sensory and maybe three fascicles are motor, or vice versa. Right? So a mixed nerve contains both motor and sensory neurons. And just kind of a reminder here, types of fibers in mixed nerves. We've seen these terms earlier, but let's just kind of define them. Remember, afferent has to do with sensory. Well, sensory afferent can be somatic. This is sensory from things that we're typically aware of, like the receptors in your skin are sensitive to touch and pain and pressure, deep pressure, vibration. But also sensory afferent visceral. This is information going to your brain from your internal visceral organs like stomach, liver, bladder. Efferent or efferent is motor. Well, somatic motor, these impulses go to skeletal muscle, so we consciously control them. But there's also motor or efferent visceral. Those are impulses going to smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and glands that we don't consciously control.